It's the weekly feed. Kyle, Meredith, Mr. Ben Sollee. It's always good to have you back.
It's always good to be here.
It's been a fun little year for you. I know you had the Hollow Sessions, the Holler Sessions.
Yeah, it's funny. We put out this covers record called the Holler Sessions. Most people say the Hollow Sessions.
Right.
And we put it out for free because we wanted to give something back to the fans, having just crowdsourced my last studio record, Half Made Man. And I feel like you need to give more than you ask.
I mean, you put it in vinyl too, though. You can buy it as well. I mean, there is a physical version, right?
There are a few of the physical versions, but mostly we wanted to give it out to folks for free. It's a collection of covers that are important to us in different ways.
Well, you're always doing something interesting with the songs, at least. And I know a lot of these I've been hearing for a handful of years and wanted to have a studio version.
Well, you've been around, man.
I've been on the Ben Sollee train since close to the beginning.
Yeah, well, most of y'all don't know this, but Kyle Meredith actually worked radio for me.
It's true.
On Learning to Bend. So if anybody had to do with breaking me, it's this guy.
Is this the editor's note? This
is that camera's note.
Who are you talking to?
Well, one of my eyes is talking to that camera. Do have a lazy eye.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all right. So I want to talk about what's coming up, though. I mean, great covers record, but you've got some really cool things. So tell me about this Paul Simon tribute, because so Paul Simon is getting a big tribute concert that's happening at Carnegie Hall?
That's true.
How did you get a part of this?
Well, me and my amazing band played a show at a place called the City Winery, which is owned and operated by a fellow named Michael Dorff, who evidently is a mogul of a promoter and entertainment kind of guy. And he and the folks that he works with there saw the show and invited us to take part in this event. And, you know, Paul Simon's been a big influence to me, and so we were actually covering one of his songs, Obvious Child, that night. And
which is also on the Holler Sessions.
Yeah.
See how that worked around?
Nice.
Yeah. So he just asked you to be a part of it.
Yeah, they invited me to, and it worked out.
Yeah.
And it's cool that it's just, you know, it's a neat event that will celebrate one of my heroes and also help out raising money for a very good cause.
Yeah. So you've been a Paul Simon fan for a very long time. I've known this about you. I know you have this dream, I think, of having him produce your record, right?
You heard that dream.
I know this dream. Are you going to try to corner him? Because he's got to be around it somewhere in this, right?
I don't know what I would say to him.
Produce my record.
Yeah, I'm terrible at the inside game.
Yeah.
That's what I would refer to as the inside game. I'm not good at that.
What is it about Paul Simon that you like so much? Because he gets a lot of artists kind of point to him a bit more these days than it seemed like they had for a little bit.
I think I like the fact that he went and grabbed sounds from lots of different places, based solely on nothing more than a love for those sounds. I don't think he was trying to prove anything necessarily.
Right, not so much reinvent the wheel.
No.
But he did.
But he did, and I think that's how you reinvent wheels.
Sure, just doing what you love.
Is you do what you love, and you don't necessarily have a reason for it, and you go and you do it. And I think that inspired a lot of things that came out of that.
Yeah.
People said, okay, all those different boundaries of folk and rock and these different cultural boundaries were broken down in a way, and they're all based around story. That's the thing that really inspires me most about him, is he's always telling a story.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of artists. They kind of they get compared to Paul Simon, and for whatever reason, that ends up being more, almost like a stigma. When you're compared to Paul Simon. You've had it a little bit, but once, like, Vampire Weekend is the ultimate example of that. Vampire Weekend
I
was,
see. Yeah,
and suddenly, what should be a great thing, like, he's a great person to take from. Nobody knocks you when you sound like Bruce Springsteen or something, because a lot of artists like that, but there's something about the way, I guess, critics treat an artist when they sound like Paul Simon. I don't know what it is, but I know you've had a little bit of that. People say you've got a little Paul Simon in your sound.
Yeah, maybe it's just different, because for me, I'm like, really? Just a little. Even a little's okay.
Yeah. You could sound like Harper Simon.
Well, that'd be different.
Thing,
yeah.
So.
I think that he has such a singular sound, he has such a singular way of pulling sounds together, that maybe folks get a little intimidated by that thought.
I guess it's just so unique. I mean, his sound is so unique. It's almost, I don't know if people treat it like, you're ripping him off more than,
it's like going to tour down in Florida. Like, you're down there, and if it doesn't go well, you're still down in Florida. Right. Like, it's, you go into that, and people might feel like you're getting cornered off into world music, which is always a tangled web.
Yeah. Now you yourself, your sound's been changing over the last few years, from album to album. I know there was a big thing about the last record, Half Made Man. It was like less cello, it was less prominent and everything. You had worked with Kevin Ratterman. Kevin Ratterman's got a nice history of working with bands like My Morning Jacket, a lot of Louisville bands actually. How much did that have to do with your sound? Because it was a bit more of a rock sound. I know you're working with him again, right? You're working with him on a new record.
Yeah, slow and steady. I always like working with Kevin.
Yeah.
I call him Gigantor Heart.
Gigantor Heart?
Yes, because he's got a big old heart in that chest of his. I love working with Kevin. He's got a really nice feel for sound. But mostly the sound on Half Made Man came from the players.
Yeah.
I invited folks that I trusted and loved to come in and just sit around in the same room and make the music. That happened to be the guitar player from My Morning Jacket, Carl,
sure.
and a bass player that's done a lot of work with Soundtribe Sector 9, and my trusty percussionist Jordan Ellis, and a violinist from the Turtle Island String Quartet. So it really mixed a lot of styles, and I tried to give everybody room to have their voice on the record. And that's generally the way that I work, whether it's the record Dear Companion or any of the other records that I've collaborated on, like Sparrow Quartet and so on. It's always been about bringing your voice to the record, not bringing your expertise to play a part.
Yeah. Is that happening on the new record? I mean, I don't know how far you in on it. Are you starting to see the direction like that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to kind of refocus it in a little bit, because the main trouble we had is we made this beautiful record, Half Made Man.
Yeah.
I consider it a beautiful record. I know
it
it's
is a
my
beautiful
baby.
record. It is a great record.
And then we couldn't tour it. It's a big band.
Yeah.
And they're busy people. And I'm still just an independent artist, DIY. It's a privilege to get to do that, but there's not a lot of money aside.
So that's important to you, that when you put a record out, you really want to be able to tour on the way it sounds.
And that's not necessarily, I really want to be able to make a beautiful record.
Yeah.
And so far, that's what I've done. Like, I've never traveled with a harpist, even though she's featured heavily on Learning to Bend.
Yeah.
But it was the right thing to do for the narrative of those songs. And I'll continue to do that. But I did discover that on this record, it was really hard to capture the feeling of Half Made Man on the road.
Right. I know the other passion with you that you spend a lot of time on is with like the coal mining in West Virginia and the Appalachian Mountains, I should say. I bring up West Virginia because I don't know if you heard the news, but the latest thing, there was this big chemical spill, and it contaminated the water. And I guess the chemical was about the stuff you wash coal with.
Yeah, I just heard about this.
Yeah, so, you've gone on a lot of mountaintop removal, crusading. I mean, this is a big passion for you. I know you play the benefits and everything. And this seems like it's just one more thing, one more reason why people should be in your corner on this. But yet, I feel like the people who live in the area are still going to be like, but it's still our livelihood. It could be killing us, but it's still our livelihood. And maybe that's my own perception. I was curious how you see this.
I think one of the biggest struggles that we have about Appalachia is the fact that not all of us know enough about it to really have the sincere affection for that place, to know why it needs to be protected. And so I spend a lot of time as a musician, as a person, as a dad, trying to raise awareness about the amazing things that are in Appalachia. Often it's these types of disasters and mistreatments of humanity that get the news, and unfortunately, it kind of perpetuates this feeling like, oh, those poor folks down there. Well, they're not poor folks down there. They are really strong people. They're really independent. They pride themselves on that, and I feel like one day, jobs aside, they're going to figure out that these companies are not there to help them be more independent or to give them that. They're there to get the coal out and move on. And if that means washing it and polluting the water and not letting them know that their lives are in danger, that their kids' lives are in danger, which could affect generations, they're going to be like, wait, that's not what we're about. And it's not what they're about. They should be really proud of the work that they've done. I'm really proud of the work that they've done. We wouldn't be where we are shooting a film shoot without the power.
Yeah.
However, there's a better way that doesn't put so many lives at risk.
when you're out there talking about this to people, I mean, you bring it up on stage. I mean, obviously, when you're playing the Mountaintop Removal benefits, you know, you're kind of preaching to the choir in a way. But anywhere else, do you find that it leans one way or the other? Are people interested in it? Do you find resistance? I mean, does anyone just come out? Have they ever just come out and called you out on it?
You know, often, no. I haven't, because I try to keep it as a discussion. I'm not pointing my finger as a city boy from Kentucky out towards the hills and saying, look what they're doing to the world. I'm saying, look what I'm asking them to do. And so often that leads itself less to, you need to shut your mouth, boy, and leads more to like, why do you feel that way? And the best example of that is I played a show in Madison, Indiana, I guess. And a gal walked up to me after the show, and I expressed my view about Mountaintop Removal, that I felt like it's just not worth it. We don't actually know the value of a mountain. Why cut it down? And she came up and she had tears in her eyes, and she was kind of shaking like someone who's going to say something to you that is past their comfort zone, but they have to say it to you. And she said, you know, I understand it's terrible, but you know, if it's not that, then what? And she expressed to me about her family history and all this stuff. And I said, well, I understand all that. And I'm thankful for the fact that your family's done that. And it took me putting out a national record, or putting out a record nationally, to figure out that my family mountain down near Williamsburg had been stripped. And that's what it paid for my mama's education. So we're all connected to this in different ways. And at the end of it all, this girl and I hugged, and she, you know, we understood where each other was coming from. It's a human issue. It's a civil rights issue. It's an environmental issue. It happens on all fronts. And it's not just in Appalachia, of course. It's around the world. But here in our backyard, we do have a choice. And I think people are coming around, coming wise to the fact that this might not be the right choice. Yeah.
It's an interesting relationship to have with an artist, because you can, you know, love their music and then find out that you're on the other side of the fence about something, and suddenly it becomes a bit gray about how you're supposed to feel. Yeah,
and I think that's totally where she was at.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, the song that I sang that got her so stirred up was a song from that record, Dear Companion, because, you know, she's a young mother. And there you go.
Yeah. Well, Ben, it's always great catching up with you. The Holler Sessions is out. There's going to be another record, what, end of this year, next year, probably?
Sure,
somewhere
end of
this
year. We'll just do it. We're going to do some shows with orchestras. We're going to do film scores. There'll be all sorts of things coming out this year.
Awesome, man. It's great to see you.
Good to see you, too.